In a small town, nestled among the hills, stood an old and seemingly abandoned McDonald's restaurant. Its faded golden arches were weathered by time, and the windows were darkened by layers of grime. Locals avoided the place, whispering stories of strange occurrences that took place within its walls. One stormy night, a group of adventurous teenagers decided to explore the eerie building. Armed with flashlights and courage, they pushed open the creaking doors. Inside, the air was thick with an unsettling silence, broken only by the distant howling wind. The flickering lights cast eerie shadows on the grimy walls. As they ventured deeper, they stumbled upon a room that seemed untouched by time. Tables were set with decaying trays of food, as if waiting for customers who would never arrive. The smell of stale fries hung in the air, making their stomachs churn. They nervously laughed off their unease, unaware of the darkness that lurked within. A sudden crash echoed from the kitchen, causing them to jump in fear. Reluctantly, they entered the kitchen, where they found a shattered mirror and a glimpse of something moving in the reflection. Heartbeats raced as they turned around, only to be met with an empty room. Unsettled, they decided to leave, but the exit doors wouldn't budge. Panic set in as they realized they were trapped. Whispers filled the air, growing louder with each passing moment. The lights overhead began to flicker wildly, casting eerie shadows that danced along the walls. In the midst of their fear, they noticed a figure emerging from the shadows, a clown-like figure, with a sinister grin and empty eyes. It was the mascot of the restaurant, but its appearance was twisted and terrifying. As the figure drew closer, the group tried to flee, but the walls seemed to shift, trapping them in a never-ending maze. They turned corners that led to nowhere, and doors opened to reveal empty voids. The air grew colder, and their breath turned to mist as they desperately searched for an escape. One by one, the teenagers began to disappear, their terrified screams fading into the darkness. The remaining ones could feel an evil presence closing in, and the laughter of the distorted mascot echoed in their ears. In a last-ditch effort, they found a hidden trapdoor beneath a rotten floorboard. It led to a dimly lit basement, where they stumbled upon a dusty office. In the office, they discovered a journal that told the story of the restaurant's downfall. It revealed that the mascot had been possessed by a malevolent spirit, seeking revenge for the unhappiness caused by the fast food chain. The spirit fed on fear, growing stronger with each victim it claimed. The teenagers realized that the only way to break the curse was to confront the spirit itself. Armed with newfound determination, they made their way back to the main area. The distorted mascot appeared once again, its laughter ringing in their ears. With a collective shout, they confronted the spirit, facing their own deepest fears in the process. The room shook as the spirit fought back, but their unity proved stronger. In a blinding flash of light, the spirit was expelled from the mascot, leaving behind a sense of peace that had long been absent from the restaurant. The building itself seemed to sigh in relief as the curse was lifted. The exit doors swung open, revealing the light of dawn. As the group left the McDonald's, they looked back one last time, watching as the sun's rays touched the once dreaded building. It now stood as a reminder of the darkness that could be conquered when faced with courage and unity. And the town, once plagued by tales of horror, now shared a new legend, one of bravery and triumph over the unknown. In a quiet suburban town, nestled between towering trees and quaint homes, there stood an old McDonald's restaurant. It was different from the usual fast food joints, with an eerie charm that both intrigued and repelled those who passed by. Rumors spread like wildfire about the establishment. Locals whispered about mysterious disappearances of customers who had entered the McDonald's after dark, never to be seen again. The once bustling playground outside now sat abandoned, its swings swaying in the wind like ghostly pendulums. One evening, a group of adventurous teenagers decided to uncover the truth behind the unsettling stories. Armed with flashlights and a sense of trepidation, they ventured into the dimly lit interior. The faded golden arches loomed above them, casting long shadows that danced across the walls. The air was thick with an unnatural stillness, broken only by the faint sound of crackling speakers. A distorted voice echoed through the empty dining area, repeating the same phrase, "Welcome to McDonald's." would you like to try our specialty? Unease settled in as the group explored deeper. The once cheery play area had transformed into a maze of rusted tubes and broken slides. Graffiti-covered walls displayed grotesque images of distorted Ronald McDonald's, their smiles contorted into sinister grins. Drawn by a mixture of morbid curiosity and dread, they stumbled upon the kitchen. The stainless steel surfaces were stained with unsightly splotches, and discarded wrappers and half-eaten burgers littered the floor. But what caught their attention was the deep fryer, bubbling not with oil, but with a thick, bubbling liquid that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. As they backed away in horror, the floor beneath them creaked. Looking down, they saw faces, human faces, pressed against the glass floor, their eyes pleading for release. The teenagers turned and ran, the echoing laughter of the distorted voice chasing them as they fled. Outside, they caught their breath, realizing that one of them was missing. Panic set in, and they debated whether to re-enter the McDonald's to search for their friend. Just then, a shadowy figure emerged from the restaurant, their missing friend, but different. Hollow eyes stared out from a face devoid of emotion, and an eerie smile stretched across their lips. Chills ran down their spines as the transformed friend spoke in the same distorted voice they had heard inside. "Join us. Join the specialty." The group turned and fled, their hearts pounding in their chests as they raced back to the safety of their homes. From that day on, the town avoided the McDonald's like the plague, the establishment becoming a forbidden place. The eerie building stood as a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurked beneath the surface of the familiar. And though the stories were dismissed by some as mere urban legends, those who had ventured inside knew the truth: the McDonald's held a terrifying secret that could never be forgotten. In a small, isolated town, nestled between thick forests and misty hills, stood an old, abandoned McDonald's restaurant. The building had fallen into disrepair over the years, its once vibrant colors now faded, and its golden arches tarnished by time. Locals whispered tales of strange occurrences and eerie sights surrounding the place, warning each other to stay far away after sunset. One gloomy evening, a group of curious teenagers decided to test their bravery by visiting the deserted McDonald's. Armed with flashlights and their skepticism, they pushed open the creaking door, which swung open as if welcoming them into the darkness within. The air inside was heavy with a musty smell, a mix of dampness and forgotten memories. As they explored the decaying interior, they stumbled upon remnants of the restaurant's past glory: shattered glass cabinets that once held Happy Meal toys, rusted menu boards frozen in time, and a faded Ronald McDonald mural that seemed to follow their every move with its hollow gaze. Deep within the restaurant's bowels, they found an old, decrepit play area. The colorful plastic slides and tunnels were now cracked and warped, casting eerie shadows on the grimy walls. Against their better judgment, the teens decided to climb in. The moment their feet touched the steps, a bone-chilling cold enveloped them, causing their breath to mist in the frigid air. As they descended further into the play area's depths, their flashlights flickered and dimmed. Strange whispers echoed around them, growing louder with every step they took. A feeling of dread gnawed at their insides, and they exchanged nervous glances. They pressed on, driven by a mixture of curiosity and mounting fear. The whispers grew more distinct, forming into disjointed phrases that sent shivers down their spines. "Order up, forever, trapped." The words seemed to resonate within the confines of the play area, making it feel like the walls themselves were speaking. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the darkness, and the floor shook beneath them. A ghostly figure emerged from the shadows, a spectral employee, clad in a faded McDonald's uniform. Its eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, fixated on the intruders. The teens stumbled back, their screams trapped in their throats. The ghostly figure beckoned them with a bony finger, its voice a chilling whisper. "Join our order," it rasped. The ground beneath them trembled as more apparitions emerged, each one more decayed than the last. The air grew colder, and the teens felt an invisible force pulling at them, as if they were being drawn into the very walls of the play area. In a desperate bid to escape, they turned and fled, scrambling up the twisted stairs. The ghostly figures pursued them, their whispers growing louder and more urgent. As they burst out into the main dining area, the air seemed to thicken with malevolence. The walls themselves seemed to warp and twist, becoming a nightmarish labyrinth. Panicked, the teens raced through the maze of distorted corridors, the ghostly figures closing in on them from all sides. Just as they thought all hope was lost, they stumbled upon a shattered window, moonlight streaming through the cracks. With a burst of adrenaline-fueled energy, they hurled themselves through the opening, crashing onto the cold, damp ground outside. As they lay there, gasping for breath, they looked back at the abandoned McDonald's. The building seemed to pulse with a dark energy, its windows glowing with an unholy light. The ghostly figures pressed their spectral hands against the glass, their eyes fixed on the teens with a mixture of longing and resentment. From that day on, the town's warnings about the haunted McDonald's became more fervent, and nobody dared approach the building after dark. The teenagers who had survived the ordeal never spoke of their experience again, haunted by the memory of those unearthly whispers and the twisted spirits that lurked within the decaying restaurant's walls. In the quiet town of Crestwood, nestled between rolling hills and dense forests, stood an old, abandoned McDonald's restaurant. The faded golden arches loomed over the overgrown parking lot like a sentinel from another era, a reminder of a time when laughter and chatter filled the air. Local legends told of strange occurrences that took place within the walls of the decrepit building. Those brave enough to venture near after dark claimed to hear faint whispers and see flickering lights through the boarded-up windows. The townsfolk spoke of a malevolent presence that seemed to linger within the abandoned fast food joint. One stormy night, a group of adventurous teenagers decided to put the legends to the test. Armed with flashlights, they entered the old McDonald's, their hearts pounding with a mix of excitement and trepidation. The air was thick with an eerie silence as they made their way past shattered windows and overturned chairs. As they explored deeper into the restaurant, the temperature dropped significantly, and their breaths turned into frosty puffs in the air. The flickering fluorescent lights above seemed to dance in an otherworldly rhythm, casting eerie shadows that danced along the grimy walls. Suddenly, a faint sound echoed through the building, a muffled, distant laughter that sent shivers down their spines. They followed the sound to the basement door, and with trembling hands, they pushed it open. The stairs creaked with each step, leading them down into a darkness that seemed to swallow all light. In the basement, they discovered a room unlike anything they could have imagined. Broken toys and discarded Happy Meal boxes were strewn across the floor, and a rusted play area stood as a silent testament to the children who once laughed there. But what caught their attention the most was a wall covered in faded photographs of employees and patrons, their eyes scratched out with red marks. As they continued to explore, they found an old, worn-out diary hidden beneath a pile of debris. The diary belonged to a former employee named Sarah, and its pages told a chilling tale of inexplicable events that plagued the restaurant. She described hearing voices whispering her name, feeling a cold breath on her neck even when alone, and witnessing shadows that moved on their own accord. The more they read, the more the building seemed to come alive around them. Their flashlights flickered, casting distorted shadows on the walls, and the laughter grew louder, echoing through the corridors. Panic began to grip their hearts as they realized they were not alone. Desperate to escape the growing sense of dread, they rushed back up the stairs, only to find the basement door slammed shut behind them. Their screams echoed in the darkness as they pounded on the door, their knuckles bloodied and bruised. The room seemed to close in on them, the walls closing like a vice. Just as their hope was fading, the door suddenly swung open, and a bone-chilling gust of wind rushed through the basement. The laughter turned into a haunting wail, and the walls seemed to twist and contort as if the very fabric of reality was unraveling. With adrenaline-fueled desperation, they raced up the stairs, stumbling out of the basement and into the main dining area. But their relief was short-lived. The room was alive with a cacophony of voices, the air thick with malevolent energy. The walls seemed to close in on them, the ceiling descending like a giant trap. In a final, terrifying moment, the old McDonald's seemed to consume them whole, their screams merging with the chorus of laughter and whispers that echoed through the building. And then, all fell silent once more, as if the building itself had reclaimed its secrets, its appetite sated for now. To this day, the abandoned McDonald's stands as a warning to those who dare to listen to the tales of the past. The restless spirits of employees and patrons continue to haunt its decaying halls, and the malevolent presence that dwells within ensures that no one ventures too close after dark. The legend lives on, a chilling reminder that some mysteries are best left untouched. The rain poured heavily as Sarah drove down the desolate highway, her headlights cutting through the darkness. Her stomach growled, and exhaustion clung to her like a shroud. She sighed in relief as she spotted the familiar glow of golden arches in the distance, a McDonald's sign. Pulling into the empty parking lot, Sarah glanced around. Oddly, there were no other cars, no sign of life. Ignoring her unease, she entered the dimly lit restaurant. A bell jingled as she pushed the door open, and a shiver ran down her spine. The place seemed deserted, but the lights were on, and the smell of fries hung in the air. Sarah approached the counter, her footsteps echoing in the eerie silence. "Hello," she called out, her voice quivering. No response. A faint whisper seemed to echo from the back, drawing her attention. "Welcome to McDonald's," the voice hissed, but the tone was wrong, too monotone, too mechanical. Trembling, Sarah moved toward the source of the sound. In the kitchen, the ice cream machine whirred to life on its own, spewing out soft serve into an ever-growing pile that oozed onto the floor. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest, the dread intensifying with each step she took. She stumbled upon a storeroom, its door slightly ajar. The dim light revealed shelves lined with decaying food, and something in the corner caught her eye, a Ronald McDonald statue, its paint peeling, its frozen grin twisted into an unsettling leer. A sudden crash made her jump. She turned to find the Happy Meal toys, arranged meticulously, now scattered across the floor. Trembling, she picked one up, but the plastic face stared back with cold, lifeless eyes. Footsteps echoed behind her, and she spun around. A figure emerged from the shadows, a figure in a tattered McDonald's uniform, its face obscured by a grease-stained visor. "Would you like to place an order?" it droned in a mechanical monotone. Fear paralyzed her as she stumbled back, knocking over a tray of food that hadn't aged a day. The figure's unnaturally stiff movements sent shivers down her spine. "What are you?" she managed to choke out. Its lips stretched into a grotesque smile. "We serve the hungry souls who wander in," it hissed, its voice a ghastly symphony of discordant tones. "Your hunger will be satisfied, but the price is high." Sarah's heart raced as she tried to escape, but the entrance seemed farther away with each step. The walls seemed to close in, the once familiar colors of the restaurant warping into a nightmare palette. "No, please," she cried, her voice echoing as if in a void. The figure lurched toward her, its movement jerky and unnatural. "Feast or be feasted upon," it intoned, its eyes gleaming with malevolent hunger. Panicked, she stumbled into the play area, the plastic tubes and ball pit now a labyrinth of dread. Hours, or perhaps an eternity, passed as Sarah navigated the shifting maze, pursued by the relentless specter. Her body weakened, her mind fractured, and just as she felt her strength wane, she burst through a door, back into the rainy night. Collapsing onto the wet asphalt, gasping for breath, she looked back at the McDonald's. The lights flickered, and a shadowy figure watched from within. The rain washed away her tears as she realized she had escaped, but the horrors of that place would haunt her forever. Unknown to her, the McDonald's stood abandoned for years, a place where lost souls met their twisted fates. The rain continued to pour, erasing the remnants of a nightmare that would never truly fade away.